Yeah, Andy, what can we actually expect from this Ireland team as it's lined out there in front of us? You know, it's obviously very different to a full strength team and the team that we grew up accustomed to watching over the course of the Six Nations. Are there any players that you kind of would consider likely to put their hands up for kind of selection in that full team when we get to the bigger tests later on in November?
Yeah, well, I would have thought Stockdale on the back of last season is a likely candidate. I think Ty Byrne is going to push hard for a starting place. I watched Bundy Aki very closely last week in the Ospreys game, and I just thought, this we mentioned exciting quite a lot there, and it is a really exciting young backline. But and although he's not the oldest, he's probably the guy who'll bring the most leadership into that backline group. There was his body language in the Ospreys was amazing. I watched off the ball what he was doing. You know, when play broke down, when play stopped, he was literally rallying 2 to 3 guys at all times. I mean, they were being well beaten. They were 13, 14 points down at one stage and playing poorly. But at no stage was he head down, quiet. He seemed very, very targeted about how they were getting Connacht back into this game. And albeit I can't point to any technical aspect of the game where I went, he impressed me, but it was just what he did off the ball for that 80-minute period. And I watched himself and Carty drive Connacht back almost to the brink, and Carty obviously had that missed drop goal late on, and Ospreys went the other end and scored. But I was really impressed by how Aki displayed leadership there in a difficult situation. I think I don't expect he's coming into the exact same situation over in Soldier Field. I think we've a much stronger side in personnel, but I do think that younger group around him will benefit from a guy who's got an attitude like him out in an international match day. Nothing makes him scared. Is what, you know, some of the guys might be a bit more nervous, the likes of Larmer, Luke, even Joey. There's a lot of attention on them, but a guy like Aki might put an arm around them and help them through the game. And I think that's something that we could gloss over, but I think there's a reason Joe's put him in there among those youngsters effectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing as well, just in the centres, they're really fighting for places. Himself and Gary Ringrose, one of them is probably going to go out of the team next week for Argentina. Robbie Henshaw comes back in. Then where does it go for All Blacks? Even looking forward, you've got Chris Farrell to come back from injury. Obviously Stuart McCluskey's an option. There's loads of depth there, and particularly in Henshaw and Ringrose and Aki, the guys that were probably those frontline options. It's hard to pick out that pairing there, and I think that applies across the team. Like the back row, Ruddock, Van der Fleer, Conan. Even in a frontline test, that's a pretty good back row. And Sean O'Brien's obviously back fit. He's at home in Ireland. Tommy O'Donnell, very unfortunate. But there are really good depth charts for Joe Schmidt in a number of positions. And this test, although maybe you could view it as it's a kind of second tier test, it really is important for so many individuals because they just won't get the opportunities. There's only 12 tests after this before the World Cup, and you just got to take every single one of them. I think it's interesting to see Niall Scannell get another start at hooker as well. A guy who's brilliant around the set piece, and Sean Cronin's probably frustrated not to get another chance again in the starting team. So Rory Best remains the front line option there, but Scannell's a guy who could even put pressure on Best. I know he's the captain and he's favoured to lead them into the World Cup, but Scannell has been really impressive at the start of the season, and he'll be excited to kind of build on his really good Australia tour. So across the team there are big windows for guys to make statements.